Republicans in the House of Representatives yesterday locked in their selections for their conference's leadership for the 119th Congress. House Speaker Mike Johnson won the GOP nomination to retain the gavel, doing so by a unanimous voice vote. Others on the House GOP leadership team will be my good friend, Congressman Steve Scalise of Louisiana, also House Majority Whip Tom Emmer, and Conference Chair Lisa McClain. NRCC Chair Richard Hudson and Conference Policy Chair Kevin Hern, formerly of the Republican Study Committee, and Conference Vice Chair Blake Moore of Utah, and Conference Secretary Aaron Hochin of Indiana. So what might we expect to see in the House coming in January? And what can we expect in this lame duck session of Congress? Joining me now to discuss this and more is Congressman Blake Moore, who serves on the House Budget Committee and the Ways and Means Committee. He represents the 1st Congressional District of Utah. Congressman Moore, welcome to Washington Watch, and congratulations on your election as Conference Vice Chair.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it.
That's the post that Mike had, Mike Johnson, before being elevated to Speaker.
Yeah, that's my team always reminds me. Hopefully I don't have the same fate as him and I can stay doing my job there and he continues on in the foreseeable. He's done an amazing job. He's been able to keep this conference moving in the right direction. We're really excited about the election results. Thanks for highlighting the leadership elections. But last week, and just seeing the mandate across the country that we want conservative leadership to move things in a different direction in our country.
Blake, there are some housekeeping things that have to be taken care of, obviously, to organize for the next Congress coming in, and that was taking place today. In part, there were conversations about the rules, and there'll be a rule package voted on in January. I was talking with the majority leader earlier today. Give us a sense of the mood inside there as members are talking.
We just had a unanimous voice vote for our speaker. A lot of still hard questions for him to make sure we're still moving in the direction that we want to go. Today's rules package will be a lot of debate, and we'll ultimately put it to a vote, and we'll see, kind of where things land. But this process that we did 2 years ago, I remember former Speaker McCarthy, he did a masterful job of getting the conference together. We have disagreements on how we think some of these procedures should go, and we're going to debate it out and move on to the next piece. And then we have the rest of the lame duck and getting then a speaker elected and moving forward.
Also yesterday, President-elect Trump came and visited with you and spoke to the Republican conference. What can you tell us about that gathering?
I guess maybe his title could actually be officially President-elect President Trump. He is still a President Trump because he's been I've never thought of that. He had a great message. It was just like, look, we had a big, strong win across the country, work together. Let's get the agenda moving in the right direction. And it was neat to see Elon Musk. He's a larger than life. And this is what we've needed, right? We weren't in President Trump's first term. We created one of the strongest economic engines, which is what the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was. Congressional Republicans had been working on that for a decade. President Trump came, it was the right moment. We had the House, the White House, and Senate, and we moved on it, and our country had a strong economic growth period, and we're still benefiting from that bill. Next year, and this candidly should have been the only thing that was discussed on the campaign trail for the last year, could have been, we have a tax bill that expires next year, and we need to make sure that we're moving forward. So he was talking a mixture of policy and galvanizing all the new voters that we have in our party and moving this to what we want to accomplish. And this is going to be a neat time. Senate, the House of Representatives, we are a separate body than the executive branch. We have a separation of power. But when we align on policy, there's no telling what we can accomplish. And I think there's a lot that we can do that with the new administration.
Well, and Congressman, you got to very much aligned even with one another as it looks like top number, the House, the Republicans could come in with 221 seats maybe at the top.
One of my closest friends is on the fringe of that. I'm still going to say 222 and manifest that this continues to happen.
Well,
but yeah, it's going to be very tight.
That will be great if that happens, but we already have seen the president kind of plucking some members out. We have Elise Stefanik, who will be at the United Nations. We have Mike Waltz, who will be in the White House. And then yesterday, we've already had the resignation of Matt Gaetz as he's been tapped for Attorney General. So you're not going to have much of a margin to work with.
No, you can see the trepidation on Speaker Johnson's face when he's like, we have a lot of great people over here, President. Please don't take any more right now. So, yeah, we'll have to get some of these special elections done as soon as possible. And we're not going to be haphazard or irresponsible with this really tight window to navigate. Elise Stefanik needs to be over in that position. So I'm thrilled, and that was a very sensational. And Mike Waltz, like, couldn't be a better national security advisor. His is different because he does not need Senate approval, so we can try to make sure that we stay in the majority. They'll be very tight, and sicknesses or illnesses or people missing votes, we gotta recognize that. So yeah, I mean, we'll be responsible with it.
You've been dealing with that for the last year, and so going into a very aggressive agenda. Let's talk a little bit about that agenda. You mentioned this. I think top of order is going to be the tax package. Is that going to be one of the first that the House tackles?
So legislatively, think of what we did last term. Our H.R. 1 was about energy and unleashing American potential. Our H.R. 2 was about border security and making sure that we secure our border to be able to safeguard our nation and our homeland. And then that's the only time you have a chance to then embrace a broader immigration reform that also needs to take place. But we've got to secure the border. So those will be those are legislative items that we've already done. We want to get those redone as soon as possible, but President Trump can also take some action on the executive front to undo some of the harmful policies that President Biden put in place. So that'll be like first order. Then you have a very, very important tax reform bill, extension of what we had done in 2017, making permanent where we can. That will be a very, very tough bill to get done, and it's going to take us some time, but we're going to be primarily working on that. That's my role on Ways and Means Committee, and you can see just a clear need. If we don't get this done, it will be a $4.3 trillion tax increase on American workers and families. And we, as a member of the Ways and Means Committee, we're committed to not let that happen. So that will be first major legislative priority that we haven't already done in this term.
Right.
We didn't have a Senate. Chuck Schumer, we gave him some really strong legislation. He didn't even take it up. He didn't even try to take a few pieces from it, maybe try to work on that and say, like, okay, we can agree on this part of this bill. Let's at least try to. He didn't do any of that. He just was dead on arrival. He's not serious about governing. He's not serious about actually creating the things that ultimately led to a big loss for Democrats. They didn't respect people's voice on the border. They created $5 trillion net new dollars of spending that created inflation, and we've got the solutions for that. And now we've got a Senate that can actually move on some of the good legislation we've done in the House. So,
Congressman Moore, just so our folks, viewers and listeners know, when legislation passes the House and you go into a new Congress, you have to redo it. But this is ground you've already plowed, so it shouldn't be that difficult to get the energy bill through, to get the border bill through, because you've debated it, you've looked at it, you've vetted it, and it's just a matter of pushing it back through again and now having a Senate that will work with you.
The key on this piece with the Senate is this bill would still have to pass with bipartisan support, but it's not Chuck Schumer that gets to drive it and leverage it. It would be John Thune, and he is going to do the yeoman's work of making sure we're going to send him a bill, and he's going to go get it done and find a way to get it over the finish line and send it back to us. It won't be the exact same bill, but it'll be a significant improvement in the process to have someone like him over a Senator Schumer that is not serious about doing this important work.
Just less than a minute left, Congressman Moore. What do we expect to see in the next few weeks in this lame duck session?
Right. So we've got a lot of really good bipartisan legislation that we did on defense, healthcare, than the appropriations bills. So I can't predict what will get taken up necessarily. You're going to have an administration that is calculus has completely changed. President Biden, to what extent he's wanting to get something accomplished before Democrats lose the Senate and the White House, he might be motivated to do some of these good bills that we've actually built up and we've got done. So I hope we can get a healthcare bill passed. There's some tax fixes that we have to do. You need an end of year sort of bill to get that done. Appropriations, that's going to be a tricky one that I don't exactly have the read on how we're gonna play that. But we want to find as many savings as possible. But also we don't want to burden President Trump with all of this by handing it to him on his desk on day one. Let's get done what we can and get it off the plate so he can focus on all the key things that we need to focus on.
Well, looks like you guys are going to be busy for a while. Congressman Blake Moore.
And we welcome it. We
Yeah.
hate sometimes the opposition when Senator Schumer wouldn't take up any of our stuff. We want to be busy.
Now
And we
you
wanna
got a clear path forward. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.